She was the one who broke up with and initiated it. Again, hard-hitting stuff. I know, like, thank God, breaking a sweat, hard news. We have some hard-hitting news to crack at this case. But Kristin Cavallari, former reality star. No, actually, this story does pertain to it. And then we're going to get into more like the meteor topics. But I did think that this was interesting because, oh my God, I almost said, here's the deal again. Why is Tim Walz making his way and infiltrating my psyche? My gosh. Kamala too, both of them do the same. Here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. Like, babe, this isn't kindergarten class. Like, knock it off, even though I'm doing it myself. Okay. The habit stops now. Okay. Drink every time Taylor says, here's the deal. And it's really the ghost of fucking Tim Walz taking over like a poltergeist of my body. So Kristin Cavallari. Okay. So she is 37, little cougar status, and was dating this guy who's 24. He's in some band, influencer, TikTok, something or other. Okay. I don't even remember his name. The point is, you know, she was writing home about how, and she's had very famous relationships all the way back from the shores of Laguna Beach with Steven up into NFL player Jay Cutler, and now this guy. It is kind of interesting because it was the thing to write home about. Like, she was screaming from the rooftops, like Julie Andrews on a mountaintop, about how he was the best sex she ever had, all this and that.
Am I the exact question is, am I the best sex you've ever had?
Yeah. Yeah, you are. And I think it's a lot of things. I think for women, sex for women just gets better as you get older, because I think women, when you're in your early 20s and stuff, you're like insecure in a lot of ways. You're like worried about your body. You're like, what I look like, or we're like, I've let all of that go. And I think I'm more present physically during sex than I've ever been. I'm also so wildly attracted to you. And I think we just have like really hot sex.
Yeah. And I think also being like, because I'm so like obviously so in love with you. So that helps. Yeah. I think like having sex with someone you're in love with a lot.
Yeah.
Is way better.
And I thought it was interesting because they have a 13-year age gap. And all I have to say is like literally what a bunch of rookies. Is this your first rodeo? My age gap, for those of you who don't know, my man is 25, give or take years. Do with that what you will, up to interpretation. 25 years-ish plus my senior. But so yeah, get in the big leagues. Like, time to separate the boys from the men. Actually, literally, in this case. And so Kristin Cavallari comes out and says, he just hasn't experienced enough life. Like, I have kids. He's a frat boy, basically, and he needs to experience life more. You know, and I have to say, being in an age gap relationship myself, again, this shit is child's play. Again, literally. He's just themselves. You know, there was a part of me that thought, is this legit? You know, that could be actually a thing. You know, you want someone a little more experienced. Or how much is it in our heads? You know? And I don't know their personal situation. Like, maybe it did get on her nerves. But how much is it in our heads that it's like, oh, this isn't acceptable, and I should really be someone. People said that to me in the beginning of my relationship all the time, like someone more age appropriate, someone your own age, yada yada. So, you know, could it have worked? I don't know. I'm not going to be up at night, you know, thinking about it, but it did make me think. And there's also the biological aspect. You know, people, namely women, get so mad when this fact is brought up, but that there is something biological, okay? Don't cross me, because after my Penn State degree was earned, I went, when I lived in LA, as a hardworking red carpet reporter, to go in the trenches of Los Angeles Community College and brush up on some shit. And one of them was I think it was something like sexual dynamic, whatever it is, class. And we did, this is straight out of LACC, okay? You can't cross me. Harvard who, but how there is a biological kind of impulse and a very sort of primal impulse for both men and women. And I know women, like especially older women, they hate this because they're like, oh, older man with a younger woman. But listen, it goes both ways, right? How older men tend to be drawn to younger women because there's something that it signals about, when young women signal about, life and giving birth and fertility and being vivacious, that on some cellular level of these men's brains, the alarms are going off, right? Like, it is Winona Ryder shoplifting circle, whatever that was, like the Neiman Marcus alarms are ablaze, okay? And same thing though with women. This is where women aren't off the hook. Where women, speaking of aging like a fine wine, we always say the George Clooney's, the Brad Pitts, the Tom Brady's, aging like a fine wine. And there is something, same thing with women deeply biological about being attracted to men, because the truth is also mentally and, emotionally, women just mature so much faster than men. Again, credit, asterisk, footnote, LACC. So when we see, when we're around men who are older, that signals wisdom and experience and protection and security. And like, that's the jive. That's the vibe, So when you see it kind of flipped like this with the Kristin Cavallari thing, it happens. I'm not saying it's like against I'm just saying, it definitely makes you think about it a different way, and like, good for them for trying it. But whether it be, I guess my point is, whether it be socially or biology, kind of just like go for it and see. And like, I wouldn't let one get in your head one way or the other. So that's what I thought when I first saw this story. To bring it all back was, how much of this is this because it was causing a rift and problems, and how much is it because one or both of them didn't think, well, she was the one who broke up with and initiated it. Again, hard-hitting stuff, I know, like, thank God, breaking a sweat, hard news. But how much did she think it just wasn't right for her life and what we're told to be? Like, I think all the rules, like age, are changing. You even have, like, back to the male-woman age gap. And I talked about age gaps a little bit in one of my recent episodes, even portrayed in pop culture, like Pretty Woman and all this. But even Pierre Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's dad, who was 30 years Margaret Trudeau's, his wife for some time, her senior. So again, I just think age really has no bounds, everybody. Like Confucius, Socrates, all in the mind of a blonde, like age, while we may have the confines of biology and of science and of culture and, our social nature and climate, really, like, just something to leave you guys with as we continue on this journey. And maybe it just won't ever end. Maybe this is real life loss. This is loss. You are Jack. Okay. This is the real life Twilight Zone plot twist. Maybe this episode just never ends. It never started. It never ended. No.